Hey guys, welcome to R-Rated Christianity. We got Marquise back with us. How many weeks has it been?
It's been a minute.
Well, I feel like it's been a while for. You haven't been here since.
I haven't been here since. Yeah.
Well, I was out for 3 weeks for that
Yep,
trial.
yep.
Then you covered.
Yep.
And then I came back and you were gone.
Yep.
And then Momo, wife, had a baby.
Yes.
And he's doing
This
the
past
weekend,
weekend, so
at the
he's-
fuckers
Yeah.
with the fake breastfeeding.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he's doing. I mean, he's giving her a break.
Yes,
I'm
the
sure he's doing
movie.
the movie.
Yes.
What'd you think I said?
No, absolutely. I didn't know what you said there. You never know. But
You never know.
I never know. R-rated.
Do we have a graphic for that one?
No, but it's a movie. F.O. Fockers.
Yeah, yes,
I mean,
FO.
come on,
But
guys.
you're right.
What's the matter
And he's
with you?
and we've all been there. It's the baby duty and mom duty. And he already has his niece or my niece, but my nephew who's 3, and then my niece who's a newborn. So he's on both fronts. Mom's healing.
Mom's
so
healing.
Shout out to Momo.
How's she doing?
She's doing good. Yeah. So the recovery and all that stuff is going well with them. Now they're just in that at home.
I'm
nesting
texting him,
phase.
busting his balls a little bit, just saying, making sure he's awake.
Yeah,
I gotta
yeah,
keep him awake.
yeah. Listen, you have to.
I mean, he's upset he's missing tonight.
You have to. Yeah,
He was
told me,
triggered.
he's like, shit,
He's triggered. Get your ass over here. Bring the fake breast and the baby. We can do it. They did it in the movies. They can do it here at R-Rated Christianity.
He was like, should I show?
It's all
I was
natural.
like, hey, stay home. Do not rock the boat right now. Nah, not yet.
That's fine.
He's
But
less
look,
than 7 days.
Well, man, if she gives him the green light,
Yeah.
I mean, it's up to her. Let the queen decide.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna talk about, is the church really calling out racism? I think we need to define what that is, because I think it's overused, right? I mean, disagreement is not racism, criticism is not racism, and I think the launching pad has to be that storm last week
Yes, it was.
of that post. Did it come from Trump's account or the White House?
White House.
It was
Trump's, right? Okay, so it was Trump's Truth Social, right?
Okay.
Yes.
And it was something on voter fraud, and then there was a video attached at the end that had to do with the Lion King, and then we all know what it is by now. It had the Obama's heads on monkeys. Was it monkeys or gorillas? One, but something in that,
Yeah.
either monkey or gorilla.
Yep.
And then it had other politicians on different animals.
Yep.
And George and I went back and forth on it on Sidebar this last weekend, and I have a very specific opinion about it separately. That's a separate discussion than whether the church is calling out racism and how the church responded to this. I know Ed we talked about it.
Yeah.
I talked to him about it, and he made a statement. He did a post and made a statement because people were busting his chops, and I didn't see anything wrong with this post,
Yeah.
and I told him that, and I tell anybody that, and I posted on it. And it was just it just gets messy.
Yeah.
Because people don't know what the hell they believe, and then they don't have any balls to talk about it. And the fact that it remains is the church hasn't controlled the narrative, meaning hasn't talked about this beforehand and given a biblical view on it, so then everybody can commandeer the conversation, and the church is playing catch up instead of the church leading.
Yeah.
It's the same criticism I had about Trump, about controlling the narrative, and then let everyone else catch up to their criticism. Don't try to catch up to their criticism, the other way around. So, I mean, I don't know where you want to start, because I know you spoke about it with Pastor Ed on
me
another
and Pastor Ed
podcast.
talked about it on a podcast.
I mean, if you want to use that as a launching point, or George, I got my thoughts, but
Well, I love it.
I'll
I
just
think
chime
it's
in.
good that we are wading into these waters. For me, it's refreshing because this is something that not even, we'll say 10, 15, 20 years ago, these types of things, I just feel like the church just avoided. It's a hot button. It divides. Divisive. Let's just stay away. And I really like how we're wading into these waters more and more, at least from the select few pastors that I follow, the one that I'm underneath, Pastor Ed. These are moments I think the church steps into. So to see that, I think it's good. And I think this is not how it should have been, but I think culture put the feet to the fire of the church of, are you going to say something? And you either are going to avoid it or you're going to speak about things like that.
I'm going to tell you where George is going to go with this. Number one, I don't think there's ever a topic that the church should avoid. I said this, the first episode of R-Rated Christianity 6.5 years ago, almost 7 years ago. I said, whatever the church avoids, the enemy invades. And so any topic the church avoids, the enemy's like, hey, I'll take it. Don't worry about it. You don't want to talk
that's
about
right,
that,
that's
right?
right.
And we fall for that crap.
That's right.
The church does.
Yep.
And then the enemy takes it over.
That's right.
So I already know where George, because I can feel his thoughts coming. So number one, we have to talk about whether the post was racist, number one, versus perceived to be racist. I know George and I had that. We went back and forth on that.
Okay.
And whether Trump is racist, I'll spoiler alert. I don't think there's any evidence that Trump is racist, and I think there's objective evidence to support that. I mean, from just a truth-seeking pursuit of truth scavenger, Christian, biblically minded person who truth matters to God. I don't think there's any objective evidence that Trump is racist.
Yeah.
But I think that there is objective evidence that he handled this post wrong, from the PR after
For
to
sure.
not overlooking as a steward, overlooking his account. That's a different topic and conversation. It's not for this one, but we can talk about it if you want to. But then as a separate topic, does the church control the narrative on racism and what the biblical view is on that?
Love it.
So that's to me, that's how I've kind of 30,000 foot, or maybe not 10, kind of overlooked the conversations. George, I don't know if you agree or disagree.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I would agree with that. In fact, my position on Saturday morning, we do this a lot. We go back and forth. We agree on the core. Nico was focusing on the PR aspect of it. This was badly handled. The messaging was terrible. He saw it as an opportunity for the president to take responsibility, because whether or not, and I don't believe that he knew about it. Some people do. It's kind of,
We'll never know.
yeah, right. I think the issue is that he, in the aftermath, he could have said, "Look, buck stops here.
Yep.
Pull a Harry Truman."
That's right.
I didn't know it was there. I didn't know it was tacked on. It was an auto reel. Happens all the time. Anybody who's been on Instagram more than 3 minutes knows that happens.
Yep.
And he could have said, "Look, I didn't know it was on there. Had I seen it, I would have opted not to." In fact, by the time he actually said it, had been taken down. So he could have done that. He could have accepted responsibility and moved on. And I don't think it was handled very well.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're in agreement there.
Yeah.
My beef, I think, is deeper than that, and it comes from heartbreak. It occurs to me that of the people in this room, I'm a guy whose life began running for our lives because of our skin color, and I'm reducing the complexity of the civil war in West Central Africa. So I take this very, very seriously. I take it personally. I think it is existential, and I think that.
Well, don't assume everybody knows your story. Can you give them like just a 2-second Cliff Note version? You came from Angola, Africa.
I don't like to repeat that, but you make a good point. I don't know who's listening. So I was born in Angola, Africa, in Luanda, in the capital city. It's a Central West African country, gorgeous country. And it was colonized by the Portuguese hundreds of years before. And by the time I was born in 1968, I mean, you want to talk about hyper-integrated. To the point where, and I'm not joking, it sounds like I'm joking, but when I say a good portion of my family is black, and that's true. They make you look albino.
Yeah.
like Predator black or
He always does this.
what? I'm asking. There's different shades, Marquise. I mean, there's Marquise black, there's Momo black, and there's Predator black.
Yeah,
Dude,
yes. I love how you bring this up. Yeah.
I'm
Because
asking.
there's a shade there.
Well,
I get it.
Am I wrong?
I get it. No, you're not wrong.
I mean,
you're not wrong.
What am I supposed to say?
You're not wrong.
Okay,
I don't
asking.
know what to call it.
Okay, I didn't know there was a Predator. It's on the spectrum of
there's different
blackness,
Mexicans,
and there's a Predator black.
That's right. Yeah.
But yes, they're blacker than night. That's how I say it.
Yeah. Yes. That's been used as well.
So, and not all of them. I got a couple cousins who are pretty light skinned, but we got a spectrum, baby, in my family, and so by the time I was born, we lots of intermarriage, and nobody thought anything of it, and so move on down the road. But due to Marxism and due to the exploitation of differences, which is Marxism in a nutshell, Marxism finds its way, and it's been doing this from the very really politically and culturally since the Bolshevik Revolution in 1916 and 1917, exploiting differences in particular cultures and getting people at each other's throats. And then in the chaos, they rise to power because they come in to be the solution to their own problem.
Right.
That's in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And so America's open door to Marxism has been racism, because this has been seemingly the wound, Marquise, that never ends. It's one of the things that Pastor Ed said that I thought was interesting, that I spoke with Nico in one of his messages. I think it was a 5:00 service on Saturday, in the aftermath of his post, where he says, man, it's a shame that we're still here. It's a tragedy that we're still here. And I want to talk about that, although I feel like I'm totally in agreement with that, and it's heartbreaking. But I wonder if I would agree with him on why we're still here. And I think that's hope that's part of what we discussed today. But my background is it's very acquainted with racism because we were victims of black on white racism. And it wasn't like just blacks against whites. There were whites in black posses because there was a shift of power.
Right.
Because the Salazar government lost power in the mainland in Portugal, and then the colonies began to fragment accordingly. And so what you saw was a shift of power. Yeah. And all of a sudden, your friends aren't your friends anymore. And everybody's picking sides. And neighbors are ratting out neighbors. And now it's all politics of power. And that's what I think is ultimately behind the fanning of the flames of racism in the United States. So I'm bringing a personal angle. Maybe it's PTSD. You can pray for me.
Yeah, I will.
Because I need it. But maybe it's PTSD. But I feel like God kind of, through those experiences, gave me this sort of spidey sense. And I can tell when an issue is being used by forces like what I happen to believe it's probably the most disgusting and powerful force against humanity, which is communism. And I can tell when it leverages, sort of vulnerabilities in a culture for power, because that's all communism is about power. And what ended up happening is we had a massive shift in power and in control. And all of a sudden, you had white people that were hunted down, and it's well documented. There were tons of people who literally lost their lives. And so, it's from that background. I'm bringing that experience into my analysis of any race-related issues, plus significant studies in American history. And I find it fascinating. I find it heartbreaking and deflating, Nico, that we are still here. And that meme, for me, what frustrated me is that's the shit, if you'll excuse me, through which we mediate racial conversations in the United States.
But let's talk about this, because to give Marquise full, I think you and I are in disagreement on Saturday. It appeared. I'm not saying it was that you were downplaying it because of that background you have, because you're so sensitive to it, and you know what they're trying to use. And you understand that race relation or ethnic, I don't like saying race, it's only one race, but ethnic relationships has actually declined since President Obama.
Thank you.
And I think you bring that. So I think what I picked up on is you perceive. If I perceived you as it's a big nothing burger, and I go, no, it's not a nothing burger. Remember? And then we went into that exchange.
I thought I was trying to be a little bit provocative, because there's a sense in which you're right. I would agree that I came across as if I'm being dismissive of it.
Right.
Now, the question is, what is it that I'm being dismissive of? Because there's a part in which you're absolutely right, and there's a part in which I don't agree. And here's how I think you're right. I'm dismissive of the way in which the video is being used. I want to downplay that, because I don't believe the video was racist. It was a 1 second, it was there, it was gone, of the Obama's faces on orangutans, and then the entire video, in context, demonstrably shows that this was not a racist. And by the way, it's persons that are racist. A video in itself, it can't be racist. That's a whole other topic, because literally everything under the sun, that's the thing. You brought this up. We've got two functioning definitions of racism. This is why, to Pastor Ed and to other church leaders, this is why I predict that if we stay here, we will never resolve this, because we're functioning on two different definitions.
Let me ask.
That's good.
So I wasn't downplaying.
Let me ask the guy in the room that happens to be black. Did you perceive it as being racist, the video?
Let me back up.
Okay.
And I will answer that. So
Okay.
I won't
let you get away from it.
Don't let me backpedal.
Yeah, don't you worry.
I played corner, but I'm not going to backpedal out of that. So the post, the where I'm at with the post, more than the post is one thing. It's a misstep. That was crazy. And I think I may have heard you say this, or if those two faces were on any other animal, we wouldn't even be talking about it.
I said that. It was a toucan and a giraffe.
Wouldn't even be a thing. Wouldn't even be a thing. So for me, more than anything, the response by President Trump was the thing that was disheartening. That was the thing that was like, this is a miss. I think for me, this is the highest office in the land. I just think you have more accountability to just say, hey, don't even bring up the voter fraud. It's actually, just go ahead and, hey, this was an accident. This was messed up, whatever the verbiage is, but just address it. It feels like it's pulling teeth sometimes to get him to just say, hey, this was wrong. It was deleted. Shouldn't have happened, and I don't stand for anything that's racist or racism. I think that's an easy, even if we're not saying the exact terminology of racism, I think you should say this is a racially charged topic. There's racist undertones with that. Culturally, there's some stuff there that I'm made aware of, that I know about, and I just want to let you know that it was a misstep, but that's what it was. So for me, I hated the response. I just didn't like it. I feel like there should be accountability with whatever comes from your platform. Go ahead and speak to that and just own it. In addition to that, seeing the video, initially, I think I have the same response as anybody who grew up like me, which is, oh, wait a second, this looks crazy. When it all, and this is what I was telling Jordan on the phone yesterday, When it all felt like this is a dust storm and we're about to get swept away is when I bagged up. It was like, let me actually hear what's actually happening. Let me actually see the entire video. What is this all about? And for me, the entire video itself is not in and of itself racist. I think that moment, poorly picked animals to put black people on, and it has racial, racist undertones that culturally, a culture like Black American culture has wrestled with the idea of being called monkeys, being called, all sorts of,
all that crap.
all those types of things. So for me, that's a moment where it's like, oh, this missed because we could have put those faces on anything else and it wouldn't have been a thing.
See, and I wasn't where George is at, because I deal with mens rea, and I still don't know who made that video. Yeah, that little meme. I'm not here to say, I can't say it wasn't racist, because you have to look at the mens rea of the person who put it together.
That's very true.
Now, if you say Trump did it, I would say no. I've seen no other evidence that would correlate and correspond that he's racist. So I say that's him trying to be funny, or him being stupid, him not thinking. He should know because of his age where that concept comes from. But we don't even know who put that video together still. Which is part of the misstep that I was frustrated with, as because look, I just say it. I mean, I support his agenda. I voted for him, so I want him to do well for the country. So that's my lens of why I come forward. But I'm also going to call balls and strikes, because as Paul tells us in 2 Timothy 4, we are to correct, encourage, and rebuke in season and out of season with great patience and careful instruction. And so I'm going to correct.
Yeah,
and because in the end, I answer to one person.
Absolutely,
I'm playing for an audience of one, not for a party, not for a platform, not for a politician, not even for myself. It's for Christ. So I someone has to be stupid as shit or young. I'm going to be honest. I want to think of every possibility not to know that out of every animal in the animal kingdom, to put black people's heads on monkeys, could someone could perceive that, whether they intended, I don't know. That's you. I mean, look, could there be a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old that doesn't know that? I guess in there has to be that. I have to be open to it, because I still don't know who did it. So I'm not here saying that it wasn't, that portion wasn't intended to be like a racist jab at them.
We don't know.
I don't know. I'm not saying. Now, do I think Trump's racist? No. Do I think the intent of the whole video, to your point, so I'm agreeing with both of you? Absolutely not. Because, and the thing that was frustrating, I think, as someone, if I was advising the president, and this, I don't know if you listened to us on Saturday, own the narrative.
Yeah.
Own the narrative. Because then now no one's talking about all the other stuff that Trump is doing and his administration is doing well. So own the narrative.
Yeah.
You made a misstep, because now you're answering and responding and not owning it and taking responsibility for it. Look, I don't support that. I can see how people could take it wrong. That wasn't the intent, for sure, of me or maybe my administration. I found out who it was. It was a huge mistake. They're no longer going to handle my social media anymore.
That's it.
Now, whether you want to fire them or not, I would have fired them probably, depending on if it's not someone's cousin or whatever, and they're really stupid and young. Then I would take that into consideration to be just. But they wouldn't handle the social media anymore.
Right.
Or Trump should overlook it himself. Run it by me real quick.
Yep.
Somebody, Johnny, someone that I know knows what. Johnny, you overlook it now. I can't do everything. I'm the president of the United States. Johnny, overlook it. That's it. So
but that's accountability.
I don't know what their intent was. That's my point, George. Is I have to know the person to get to the mens rea. Now, because what if it was some other schmuck that maybe knew better?
Absolutely.
Well, then you have to ask that person, why'd you do it if you knew better? I don't know.
No, and that's what, for me, I put the onus on Trump to just make the call to say, it happened on my watch, it happened from my administration, whatever you want to call it, platform. It was never supposed to happen. We were intending this happened, and I can see how those who happen to be black, to your point, who voted for me or who are part of this country could see that and say, man, this is hurtful. Now, whether we are all on board on, I agree with people's feelings, that's not this conversation. I think the conversation is just accountability in terms of his response. So I did not like the response. I think it could have been more ownership on his part to just own, here's what took place, and I denounced it.
Let me tell you what it frustrates me about language. And George, you tell me if you correct me if I'm wrong. We use hurtful too much. That would. Do we really think people are crying? Like, I can't believe it. I think. I mean, nobody. Now be pissed off. Be pissed off. Say it's irritating.
Yeah.
I think it was a jab. Go F yourself. I mean, but hurt. I mean, when people posted and said horrible things about Michael when I did that video where Davi's driving with Michael, remember, and he had that meltdown, and I was showing a video that was just supporting Davi and how she's patient and loves on our son who's on the spectrum of autism, and they're on back roads. the neurologist where she was going to asked her to take a video of his next meltdown. And if you have a child on the spectrum, you can't stop every 2 seconds. Your kid has a meltdown. You know what are more serious ones or not. And mommies, and people said, Marquise, vile shit. I mean, oh, what a great commercial for birth control. Great commercial for abortion. Jesus. I mean, you should throw him out the car. Why didn't you leave him? Put him out of his misery. I mean, evil shit. Evil. That I wasn't hurt. I didn't sit in my room, cried. I wanted to fight. I wish they would have shown up so I could have broken their jaw for them and you know, done what I want. But that's what I was pissed, but I wasn't hurt.
Yeah.
You know, people use hurt like, oh, they're crying. No one's crying over this.
Yeah.
You know, they're not. So I don't want to buy into the narrative. That's me. I don't want to buy into the narrative or over apologize for stuff.
For sure.
So I don't mind Trump not apologizing for that, because that wasn't his intent. And I'll take the man's word right now because I have no evidence to contradict that. I would just say, look, it's my post, and I should have overlooked it or had someone there. That was not my intent. I can see how that can hurt someone's feelings, but that was not my intent. I think my record shows that.
Yeah.
And I can see why someone would be offended by it. Offended is different, but hurt.
What's the issue with
ask me about Iran.
What's the issue with an apology?
What is he going to apologize for?
What's he going to stand Sarah for?
No, hold on. What is he going to apologize for?
This happened under my watch on my platform. Hold on. On my watch, under my platform, there are people who happen to be black that voted for me, and I can see how this could hurt them because of how they grew up.
So you didn't apologize right now. So what apologize about what?
What do you mean?
You didn't say anything in your words that were apologetic.
Okay.
You explained things. You gave an explanation, but not an apology.
But I agree with what you just said. Even with that, I can say, I'm sorry that this happened.
But why I'm sorry what? Just say that I'm sorry that
it happened on my watch.
Okay, you can say I regret. You can say I regret that this happened.
Yeah.
If you get into apologies, then now you're almost repenting. Apologies need to be elevated real high, and everybody apologizes as a sign of weakness. And in Christianity, apology is a sign of strength.
Yeah.
Right. But it has to be you. I can't apologize for someone else. And so you can say, I regret it. I regret that this happened.
I don't know. I disagree. I think something happening on your watch, whether it's a person that's a company man if it's your children, hey, I apologize on behalf of my children. Whatever it is, I think if it's happening under your watch, I think you can apologize. It doesn't have to be this, I'm sorry, repentant, it came from me. For me, I think it just happened on my watch.
Then let's just cut to the chase. The reason why, it's the Chris Cuomo theology that never apologize, you're always going to use it against you. That's in this world. That's reality.
Yeah.
I think pastors over apologize. I think politicians over apologize. That I think apology, it never works because no one ever accepts it. No one accepts it.
And I'm not saying it makes everything better. I just feel like, why not apologize? I don't think that it...
Well, why, ask the reverse question, why apologize?
Because I'll say it this way. I would have apologized because for me, there's no sweat off my back to say that happened on my watch.
And say that.
It happened. But I apologize that it happened on my watch.
That's interesting.
And for me, we're splitting hairs. We're just splitting hairs.
Maybe it is, but in that world, you got to split hairs.
And I hear you.
It is a dog-eat-dog world. I'm just being practical. I'm being shrewd as a snake, innocent as a dove, right?
Absolutely.
Matthew 10:16.
But it's like you said, I apologize on behalf of my kids. I cringe at those words. I would never apologize on behalf of my kids. I want them to apologize on their own behalf. Seriously.
Yeah.
And I apologize. I'll take responsibility. It's something that I did, and on reflection, I was wrong, and I apologize. So that has a particular meaning and a particular context. We can't just sort of start extrapolating out because then an apology is anything.
If my kid beat the crap out of another kid and was a bully, and I saw the dad, number one, I'll handle my kid, that whole thing. If I saw that dad, hey man, I'm sorry that this happened to your kid.
Right. But you're not apologizing.
It's a regret
you're
that it
giving
happened.
That's like when someone passes away and say, hey, I'm sorry for your loss. You didn't do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds like we're saying the same thing differently.
I don't know if that's different.
No, well, brother, if let's say, and I won't use you.
Yeah.
Let's say Fulano over here, his cousin passes away.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm sorry your cousin passed away.
For sure.
I didn't kill your cousin.
Yeah.
So why am I apologizing? It's just a term of art.
You're
It just
expressing
means
condolence.
My condolences.
Yeah.
So use the word that's more appropriate. We overuse I'm sorry. That's my issue.
So if he would have said, I don't know if my condolences fit in this context.
No, just say like, now if I should have watched the kid and I didn't, now I can apologize for me not overlooking my kid, but I'm not going to apologize for my kid kicking your kid's ass.
Even if it
I'm gonna get
happened,
his ass.
and maybe we just have a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
Even if that happened and I wasn't there, I'd be like, bro, I'm sorry that this happened to your kid.
But I mean, I think you'd be using it like Fulano though. I mean, you know what I mean? Because you didn't do it to his kid.
No, I didn't.
Your kid to beat
I
his
didn't.
ass.
But it's just kind of like
I get it.
But I know I'd love to move to the direction of what you were mentioning of when it comes to this idea of racism and defining what we're actually talking about, and this is where I love this question, is the church really calling out racism? Because what you and I were talking about, George, I do not want us, and this is what happens all the time, we get swept away when something like this happens in culture. And as the church, how do we respond when there's a cultural outbreak of whatever the thing is that week? And for me, I love the mentality of, and we talked about this before a couple weeks ago in Philippians 4, where Paul says, whatever is true. And you said, man, he put true there first for a reason. Like you stop at what's true, and you can stop a lot of stuff at the door with what's true. The reason why I bring that up is, in truth, the way we disciple, and this is a big word that I'm using, we disciple our people in these moments, or the culture disciples our people in these moments.
And the culture is discipling our people in these moments.
Yeah.
And we are helping the culture disciple our people in these moments.
Absolutely. If we're not saying, wait a second, let's look at this objectively.
Right.
Let's look at what's taking place and not allow, and I'm with you on this, not allowing our emotions to get the best of us.
Right.
I'll tell you immediately. So an instance for myself and Crystal, we did a marriage conference one time. And we were doing this marriage conference. They was like, hey, can we use you guys as illustrations? We're like, yep, we're up on stage. And they're like, you're stressed out. You're tired. Dad, here's a briefcase. You're going to have a briefcase in your hand. Mom, you're on the phone with business people. Here's a phone for you. You guys got multiple kids. Here's some bears or some stuffed animals. And the stuffed animals were monkeys. Now, hold on. There was something in me that stopped. We got to talk for a second. I had to do in that moment the intentional work of, these people are not racist. They did not do that intentionally. I'm in my own head over some biases. But for the sake of the audience that's getting ready to be here in a couple hours, could we use some different stuffed animals to illustrate children? Only reason I bring that up is, within me, I had to do the personal work of fighting against the biases and the feelings of, what are you saying? My children are monkeys? And all of that tries to rise up. And the reason I bring that up is, as the church, we have to do a better job of discipling our people to say, do not let biases, do not let your own, how you grew up, dictate and govern how you're led in this world. I don't think you should be governed by your feelings, your emotions, and your biases.
Agreed.
Okay, I just want to back up a moment. So that's your message while you're doing it, though.
Doing what?
Letting those biases determine how you're conducting a seminar.
By saying, put them away?
He was the volunteer in the seminar. He wasn't conducting the seminar.
They said, can we use you guys?
Whoever. But I'm sorry, whoever. But if you accommodate these biases so that it affects your practice.
And you're talking about the fact that I said put them away?
Yeah. So you could argue, well, you're just being sensitive. That's one side. You got to know your audience and all that. So I guess my question is, but at the same time, you're saying, do not let those things affect you to the point where they actually affect your conduct, and you're operating, or at least in consideration of them or through them. And I'm worried about that inconsistency. Yeah. Now, I can understand that early.
I'd love to speak to that
early in our growth. I can understand that. We're not early in our growth.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Now, how much longer, is why I say to Nico, how much longer must we keep sort of on this sort of Ferris wheel talking about racism really in non-meaningful terms? Right. In other words, and I just want to put a cap on that. I agree with Marquise. I'm not diminishing the notion that there is a racial component that is rooted in cultural sensitivities. I don't diminish that. I acknowledge that. I diminish how it was being used as some sort of abject racism to blame the administration. These claims of, I know how it was being used by the left and by those who are similarly minded. It's basically political currency to buy power. A racist accusation, that's the best way I can say it. The racist accusation today is basically currency to buy power with which you can beat the hell out of your enemies politically. And that's how it's used. And so I diminish that, and I rush to diminish that because I don't want the conversation, Marquise, to be at that level. Sure. So back to your point, if at some point we simply have to just do it. And if the question comes up, then we can address it rather than kind of sort of massage around it, dance around it. I think there's way too much dancing, brother. And I think we ought to just simply, like, what is racism and what is it not? We ought to do that.
Well, in that instance alone, just looking at that instance, what is wrong with not wanting to lose your audience because you don't have the extra 30 seconds, a minute to explain, hey, by the way, just so you know, I know these are monkeys. I know that may be some, but I need you to know something. Let's get out of our feelings. You got some biases. I don't have time to do that. I also don't want to lose an audience. So that accommodation was not let's accommodate people when it comes to lowering the bar on what needs to be true and about their biases. No, it was just I don't want to lose their attention and I don't have the time to explain. So that was it. It wasn't, so that don't take that accommodation as softening or inconsistent. For me, it wasn't inconsistent because I was trying to do the work personally at this time. I still had my own personal biases, still operating in a certain way so that's why the reason I tell you that is I had to do the mental work of this is not that, but hey, in order not to lose an audience member, there's also not just cultural sensitivity, there's generational. My grandmother seeing something like that in the audience is a completely different person than you and I seeing that because of some experiences. Now, do experiences lead and govern us? Absolutely not. But I don't want you for the next hour thinking about
and I get that.
Your history
You're being
instead
pragmatic.
of missing the message.
You're being pragmatic.
So that's all that was.
So it's one of two things. It's either it's a teaching opportunity to where you say,
sure.
you know what, I didn't mean to do this because we chose two monkeys, and either I choose the right couple that I want to use, and they happen to be black, and I understand that there's a cultural sensitivity out there, and use it to teach. Or you don't pick you guys, and you pick a white couple because the white couple using monkeys is irrelevant, right? But how do you ever get away from it? From this sensitivity? Do you wait for the older generation to die off and then work on the middle of the road folks? I mean, it's a genuine question because if we all agree that we want to get away from that,
absolutely,
because God created all ethnicities, and I have number one, I like ethnic jokes. I think Mexican jokes are funny. I have permission to say them because I'm Mexican, right? Lebanese. You can say them too, though. When off air, it's funny Mexican jokes. I'm joking. No, but they don't bother me. You know, stereotypical jokes don't bother me.
I hear you.
It's the intent behind them. Mm-hmm. You can have someone say something about a Mexican, a beaner, or whatever, and we're laughing our asses off about it. I have friends that are black. I have friends that are white, Jewish, and we all bust each other's chops ethnic. I mean, it's like Don Rickles on steroids, and I love it. I grew up in that era where Don Rickles was hilarious. And that's how you handle that to me. And that was closer in time to true racism that we saw. Mm-hmm. I mean, Don Rickles used to be on the dais. Red Fox, Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, all the greats. And the guy from George Jefferson. I mean, Wheezy. I mean, they're all up there. And he's saying black jokes. And they're stereotypical black jokes, and they're on stitches. Yeah. Because they know Don's heart.
For sure.
And they're in the audience, and everyone's laughing. Archie Bunker that was closer. And that guy was the character was. And people laughed at it. Yeah. George Jefferson was racist towards whites. Yeah. Calling, Tom a honky. Mm-hmm. That's the era I grew up in. And that was closer to when we really dealt with true racism, and I'm sure we're going to define it here in a little while. Mm-hmm. And that's how a culture deals with something. It's like the person that's heavy that always says, I don't like using this word fat, but always says the fat jokes because they know you're thinking it, so they're going to, that's how people, humor is a way to deal with something ugly, right? There are some things off limits, don't get me wrong. Carlos Mencias, he lost me a long time ago when he was coming up with George Lopez. And George Lopez is making fun of Mexican culture, and I'm pissing myself because he was talking about my grandma and my family, and I'm laughing. He's making millions on that. And then Carlos Mencias is making fun of special needs kids and people, and my aunt is special needs. And then only God knew that he was going to bless me and with the responsibility of raising a special needs son. And he lost me back then. So I'm sorry that I'm just doing this thought dump. I'm just saying, how do we ever get away from it then? What's the formula to get away from this sensitivity and to quit looking at people? Because if we keep talking about, if we're sensitive about skin color, then we're going to be sensitive about skin color. Mm-hmm. And I just happen to agree with, I don't know if he's still an atheist or not, Morgan Freeman, when he says, if you quit looking at me as a black man, I'll quit looking at you as a white man, with Mike Wallace. Because I don't want a Black History Month. I don't want an Autism Awareness Month. I don't want a Hispanic Heritage Month. I want people to be aware of autism all year long. Yeah. And it becomes part of our culture. I don't need to be emphasized that. That's me. Tell me what your thoughts are.
Absolutely. Two things. Number one, happy Black History Month, everybody.
Is it this month?
Number two, yes, this month.
Oh,
Come on. What are we doing?
What
are we doing?
I didn't know. Is it really this month?
What are we doing?
Oh, sorry, sir. I'm
Golly,
racist.
man.
Am I officially?
That's number one. Number two,
Red Fox,
I do believe
in America, every month is Black History. You know that.
Yeah.
That's right. Hey, come on. Come on.
Ain't that right?
My fellow African American.
That's right.
By
He's really
definition.
He's truly African.
That's right.
Because if it wasn't,
That's
you'd
right.
be racist.
That's right. That's true. I'll say this, and I really do want to concede to or to defer to you as well, George. I believe this is and I feel like I beat this drum. I think it's a discipleship issue. So how do we get away from it? I think we disciple our people towards what. And I know we said this is a biblical worldview. What true sensitivities are. But here's what it is. I don't want to get into the game of here's what you need to be sensitive about. Here's what you don't need to be sensitive about.
Right.
We can't play that game. You just brought up something that you're like, well, this is where he lost me. That was your line.
Yeah.
Somebody's line may be different.
Sure.
So we can't play the where which line. I believe.
Oh my goodness. He couldn't stay away. He could not stay away. I love it.
Oh, you were listening. You were listening.
Hey, are you mad? Are you mad that I know it's Black History Month? Are you mad?
Yes, you did. I texted you.
You texted me?
Yes, you did.
Shit, I'm sorry.
Oh, my God.
I didn't know. I'm sorry. I forgot.
Of course you did.
I forgot.
I'm gonna finish this thought and then Mo can come
Yeah,
in.
baby.
Come on, man. I'm full.
That's good.
Mo. Couldn't do it. You
my
couldn't do it, brother.
Couldn't do this without him.
Good to see you, baby.
Have you been listening to us?
Man, I was rocking the baby to sleep, and I said, let me get in here.
Yeah, you gotta get in.
There's no way we talk about one of the greatest presidents on the face of the earth.
That's right.
Obama, by the way.
Yeah.
have
Former president.
That's right.
Oh, you
I'll
laugh.
finish this thought and then I'll let
go ahead,
you
go ahead.
take over. I do believe it's a discipleship thing. How do we get away from that? I think we have to disciple our people towards what's true and right. So on a weekend like this, I do believe you have to stand up and say, hey, I love how you say call balls and strikes. I'll call balls and strikes. Here's what this is, and here's what this is not, which is why like you and I were talking about, George, the etymology of the word racism and taking time to even unpack, here's what this is. Racially charged video, and I'm throwing things out. I'm not even using actual terminology that I would say, but here's what this is, here's what this is not, right. And here's what the scripture points us to do in moments like this. And in those moments, it's praying for our leaders, it's praying for our country, for sure. It's praying for those who don't look like us, enemies, whatever it might be. But there's a moment there where pastors and ministry leaders have to step up and say, this is how we ought to think about this.
And even if it's countercultural. Even if it's countercultural.
Okay, and this is what I loved about what Pastor Ed has done. Not just this time, but a few weeks ago, I think he was referencing Minnesota. Not your feelings or your opinions. And he said, a lot of people want to know what my opinion is on this, this, and this. It's not about my opinion. Forget my opinion. It's about what God said. It's about what the scripture tells us to do. So here's what the kingdom perspective needs to be. So you disciple people towards that. But here's the caution that I have. I just don't want to get into the game of don't be hurt by this, but you can be hurt by this.
Right.
I don't know what to tell people to be hurt by. I can't.
You can lead them through that hurt to make them look at it the way God does.
Absolutely, but I can also tell you the truth and say, hey, I heard you say, I know you may feel this is racist, this is not racist. And George, I love how you are a fierce advocate and a defender of what true racism is. And a lot of people I would just make this assumption, look at you and not know the story that you just told about how you were raised. Not know why does he not want to call that racist? Why are you not? Early on, I'm like, why doesn't he just want to call it racist? You saying, because I actually want to defend what true, or not defend, but I actually want to speak out against what true racism is. And if everything's racist, nothing is racist.
That's right.
So
that's good.
Long story short, we got to disciple our people, but it can't be.
Yeah, beautifully said. And I wonder if we might actually get to a definition of racism, Mo. And you walked in, so go ahead.
Put him on the spot. Put him on the spot.
Tag him in.
Let's do it this way. You define what racism isn't, and I'll define what it is.
There you go.
You got a deal?
That's easier.
He's got a baby
That's
now.
Already, man.
Hey, he's racist.
Hey, he's sleep deprived, so don't do that to him right now. He's sleep deprived.
Talk to Nico in a second.
I'm very loopy. What's happening, man?
So what are your thoughts? Catch up. I mean, you've been watching.
Initial thoughts.
Just jumping in a little bit.
Yeah. Jump to the deep waters.
I know. I am in a very light-hearted mood too. But yeah, I don't know where to start. I think it was good of some of you guys' conversation of whether it, careless, but maybe even trying to figure out where. To your point, I don't know what that word that you use as far as the intent of the person.
Mens rea.
Mens rea. of that. For me, man, I think these are moments where education is super important. I think there's a lot of why is this even a thing for people? And I think that there's some just good opportunity of that. I think for what I hate is the political landscape, and this is on a both sides thing, but a political landscape of where we are is everyone is looking for a gotcha moment. And because of that, I feel like we're slow to take hey, this came from my desk. Let's correct it. Whatever the case may be, X, Y, Z. It's like they're waiting to give a gotcha moment, and Trump's like, I'm not giving you a gotcha, so I'm not even going to go to the. So there's this just power struggle, this whole thing where I'm just like, but that's just the political landscape. So I hate that. I don't know. I'm rambling a little bit. I'm just kind of here, just jumping in.
You're saying the very reason why he wanted to prevent a gotcha moment actually created a gotcha moment.
That's a great point.
That was my great point.
So if he would have just simply conceded responsibility as the Truman of the moment, but the buck stops here.
Yeah.
We were kind of going back and forth between being. I mean, I can see in that capacity him regretting that versus I apologize, like I'm responsible, like personally responsible. I just thought it was we spent about 5 minutes on it.
Gotcha.
Just is there a distinction between the two? Because we elevate apologies in Christianity. Apologies are it, man. Those are gatekeeping activities, right? Repentance opens the door or keeps it shut. In fact, there is no appropriation of forgiveness without repentance. So it's that big.
Yep, I agree.
So I think it was a worthy debate because it's an all or nothing thing.
I appreciate that.
But I think that's a good point. I think in the effort to try to avoid a gotcha moment, he actually created a huge one.
Yeah. So that was one thing that popped up for me. But for me, I think there's so many different people are viewing it so many different ways. And I think that's probably what kind of came up. I didn't watch the whole full Saturday thing, but I think that's kind of what came up of I'm trying to press into this. Nico's trying to press into this. Other people are trying to press. So so in some ways you don't necessarily talk about one thing, right? Everybody's coming from an angle of, I'm coming, this is a road quick to communism. This is a road quick to this. And it's like, other people are, hey, what about this? And the feelings, what about dehumanization? What about, so there's so many, I'm coming at it from this angle. And so I just think that when you find spaces, or it's important for the church to, in a lot of ways, slow a conversation down, try to simplify it as much as possible. What was this thing that we just ran over as a culture? This road bump, whatever the case may be. But there's so many different, even for many churches. I had many pastor friends that I was talking to this past week, and they're trying to figure out what is this that I say, what is this that I don't post, that I do say that I. So there's so much that you're trying to sift through, because what if they think that I'm trying to say that? What if they try to do? There's so much. But for me, man, it was just a simple, very simple for me of just it was one-sided for me of just, hey, slow the conversation down to imagery like this has historical roots. And I think that's important.
I'm struggling. I'm struggling with the sensitivity part of it. Because while he should have acknowledged, to use the word, I think Ed used it too, there's some realities here. There's some cultural sensitivities that obviously have not yet abated. And I'm critical of that. And I have my thoughts on that. And I don't think the church has done us a lot of favors in terms of keeping that animal alive. Every animal but an orangutan. I just want to be clear about that.
Exactly. Nice.
So thank you. So I there's another sensitivity that I think Trump has, and I think that every sentient American should have, and that is that there is a worldview that is exploiting those things. And that
I see what you're saying.
And we got to be very, very sensitive to that, because racism has been hijacked by that worldview. I described it as a racist accusation from the left is equivalent to currency. And it buys them political power, and they crush their enemies with it.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's a big deal. And I think we have a responsibility to pull America out of that cesspit. Because in the process of that problem, we also drag real discussions about racism into the mud that we should be having, that we actually don't have. Everything we've discussed about racism, interestingly enough, in the last 25, 30 minutes, we actually haven't really gotten down to what's really racist in the culture right now, like demonstrably and objectively so by definition. Because racism isn't just the view that someone is less than because of the skin color. racism is prejudicial. You hold a prejudice, and then that prejudice manifests in antagonism and in discrimination. And if you step back, and now you're going to have a very different discussion now. All of a sudden, Ed's post is going to look real different. Because on that basis, what people or peoples are experiencing that right now en masse in society. I don't think it's even a close second, but no one's going to come near it within a 10-foot barbecue for it. You know why? Because they're white. That's why. By every objective measure. The United States Supreme Court just ruled on it. Every academic institution, major academic institution, has left thousands and thousands and thousands of very qualified applicants out in the dust because they were white.
You're saying that's the number one.
Oh yeah,
and it's not
without
a close
question.
second.
There are books right now, and you know this because you know some of this literature. Does Robin DiAngelo mean anything to you?
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, she's written the Bible on white. Thank you on white fragility. She's written and the terminology and the lexicon. So that's the definition of racism. And then there's the definition of racism that the church gets mired in, that the left is driving. That actually has nothing to do with racism. Racism has actually nothing to do with, looking at someone less than because of the color of their skin, antagonizing them, and because of that. It actually says that if you're white, you're racist, and if you're a non-white, you can't be.
Yeah.
Because traditionally, it's in power. It's a power definition,
thing,
right?
Yeah, racism is only one-way street.
It's only one
to a
way
lot of
street.
people.
Right.
And so
Bria has
now
a
you
good
got
question
very
for us.
different discussions now. Because I was just going to finish. When is it that white people in this country had the power and were actually using it to discriminate and antagonize others? You got to go back. When did Jim Crow start? In the area of Reconstruction around 1877.
Yep.
And then the aftermath of Jim Crow was after the Civil Rights Act, 1964. So 1877, 1965 is Jim Crow.
The Jim Crow era, yeah.
So I think we can all agree. I don't know of any actual white people owning slaves in the last 30, 40, 50, 60 years. So that reality, my point is that reality remains. People act like nothing's changed.
But that doesn't mean that there's a lot of racism with Hispanics to blacks.
Oh my God.
That's real. You go on the. I mean, there is. And
You
there's
want personal?
No, just they look at blacks differently, like
for sure.
Mexicans.
Please forgive me, Nico, but you're talking, and I never got to say the word because it might excite Momo too soon.
Yeah.
But I was going to use the word systemic racism or institutional racism or structural racism.
It's a real thing.
I'm talking about Thank you. That's right.
It's a real thing.
That's exactly right. What he just said. I'm being serious and he's joking.
No, I'm very serious.
Institutional, structural,
serious.
and systemic racism.
Amen.
The only examples of those that we have right now are geared towards white persons.
I know where he's going.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
I can't think of a pastor, of a church leader, of one damn post. And it's been all over the news for years and years. In fact, the one chance that the church actually had to stand up and decry it, the church joined the other team, making white people apologize. Remember that?
When was this?
That's a wonderful legacy in the age of COVID.
Oh, okay.
I love that. But when was it?
No, just wanted to,
Well, when you're young, a year is a long time. How old are you?
34.
But you see, this is, I lived through that type of racism.
Yeah.
So I'm hypersensitive to it. I'm not just sensitive to it. And so I'm really concerned and worried that is an uprising right now.
No. But see,
in
now
America.
I picked up on something. So you guys agreed that there's institutional racism. He said
Yes.
it's against white people. I'm assuming you're saying it's against blacks?
I'm saying that there are several different ways that institutional racism impacts various different groups of people. And I would say that institutional racism isn't something that dies overnight. So the fact that you would have something so embedded in our country for centuries, and then to think that because a bill was passed in 1964, that now that everything has changed, we still have neighborhoods that look very different because of the way in which cities were structured, because the way in which societies were structured. Like we have a echo of systemic racism for sure.
So you're talking about the remnants of it. The remnants of it. You're not saying it's not still there, but you're saying the remnants.
Does it have an impact?
But it's not in power. It's not. But just to
right.
define though, to delineate that.
Right. I'm saying that there's several forms. Yes, there is the.
Well, you can't call it institutional racism though.
But it's not.
But it's the impact of
Well, that's different.
Yeah, I know,
That's
but-
different.
Right. So
You're right.
if we're still feeling what happened, in various ways, it still has an impact.
But that's vastly different than it being in power.
Wow, this is really
here's what
important.
I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying. Yes, I get that. But all we're talking about is different power shifts, because now we're talking about discrimination, Jewish impact when it comes to them being discriminated against, when it comes to white people being discriminated against, Asians being discriminated. It's
So you just
in
said it just
various different
shifted.
ways. I'm talking about one in particular. But I'm saying, hey, there's colleges that we have statistics of what George is talking about, but that's across the board of whites, Asians. We have Jewish communities that were impacted during all of this uproar, all these different things. Jewish people saying, what are we doing? Was it Harvard that was doing all sorts of things where Jewish people were feeling during all the Palestine?
Well, hold up a second. I just want to make sure we draw a clear line here. That's a different type of analysis, it seems to me, because we're doing analysis on the basis of skin color here. Right, so whites, blacks, Hispanics, Asians. So I'm talking about that. I'm not. I think now you're getting into religious groups. That's a different conversation, because then you get into Christians and Muslims and so forth. But I don't want to lose sight of your first point. And I don't think that you can point to. I don't think you can point to an institution or institutionally wide racism against blacks. You will be hard pressed to find that. You'll be fired in 5 seconds flat. I mean, there's no conversation. We shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah.
That's how sensitive we are to that. In fact, we've made it impossible. That's not to say that you've wiped out racism in the United States. Of course you haven't. If you have more than one human being in a room, but high probability of racism.
Right.
So I guess we just need to step back and say that the very things that have grieved us about how institutionally blacks were discriminated against in the country, which was truly systemic and truly institutionalized.
Right.
Not just in schools, but at water fountains and libraries, wherever you went.
Right.
And what I'm saying is that you can see a lot of parallels along the lines against white persons today than any other group. And that's by any objective measure. And And this isn't a competition. All I was trying to say is, where's the grief? That's all I'm asking.
Right.
Where's
Here's my
the
challenge.
hearts that are breaking? Who's crying for them in our pulpits, brother?
Here's my challenge, though, George. You bring that up during this moment. I'm not saying you've never brought it up before, but I'm saying in this moment, why are we moving it off of base of what happened here? It's the whataboutism. And that's the thing for me, is like, okay, yeah, but why are we addressing that right now?
Because that's the topic. The topic is the church really calling out racism? And what I'm saying is that the church is very selective about the kinds of... The church. Let me just say this and then I'll shut up. The church calls out racism all day long, but it doesn't really call out racism.
Okay, got it. But I'm saying, and maybe I'm in a different world. What prompted this conversation and what we had to take, take down Salo's post, because if there's any racists in the room,
we're done here, man.
Thank you. Touch his heart.
Badge of honor. But I this is my thing. One thing happens and it is like a shotgun. It buckshots into so many different directions. And this is what I mean by simplifying, slowing down the conversation to settle here for a couple days. And then before it's the everything else and the tootsies and the this, and it's like, whoa, slow down. What about what we just talked about?
But what's the answer, though?
Okay, go ahead. Let me say this real quick, because I hear you. The reason I disagree, I would agree with George on this, because we're getting down to what racism is and what racism is not. So what happened
in this
past
podcast?
Yeah, but in this weekend and in this what took place this past weekend, by definition, is not a racist thing that took place. We could talk about it being
we don't know Myers.
Mens rea.
Mens rea.
Yeah, we don't know mens rea.
Yeah,
the intent of the person.
The intent of the person. But all we're looking at, the meme and all that stuff alone, is just a cultural sensitivity thing. In my opinion, I don't think it's we got to call out racism now, because to what George is saying is, before we try to jump and even call it racism, let's call it for what it is.
Right. So the cultural sensitivity part should or shouldn't be there?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So
but let's not call it
whether
racism.
It should be there or whether it is there are two different things.
Yeah. Right. Well,
It should not be there, but it is there.
Yeah. So it's there,
But Mo, we've
But cultural
conceded.
sensitivity is cool.
Right, I know. I'm getting that, but what I'm saying is,
Go ahead.
moving it to a now let's not talk about anything else. Well, I don't think that you have to bring up racism if it's the cultural sensitivity.
No, but to the point of what George is saying is what I can't believe I'm saying this, George. What the left is trying to do, though, with the conversation.
Yeah, please cover my ears.
But please,
Please
but it
cover
has
my
to-
ears.
But you can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. What has been thrown in our face from media?
Yeah.
Let's be honest. What has been thrown in our face
Right.
from media? This is a feeding tank on. It smells like racism. Let's use it to sweep people away.
And this is, but that stepping into the church setting with all of that, I think is unnecessary.
Why?
Why?
Because what me having to think about, well, if the left uses it this way and the right uses it and they use, and talk about the simple incident that happened. Stop trying to go into what the political, they're going to use this weapon.
You don't
They're
have
going
to.
use.
You don't have to say that.
But right, but if the
Let's call
church
it
is
media.
leading, but if the media my thing is this. Look at it for what it is from the kingdom lens. Stop trying to go into all these
But
other
don't-
areas right now.
But don't call it racism if it's not racism.
But what I'm
Would
saying,
you agree?
What I'm saying is we don't, mens rea, we don't know. What I'm saying is if there's a historical, the historical part of the
that
imagery
exists.
is rooted in what?
Racism?
Okay,
Sure.
So I'm not saying you calling it racism or not. I'm saying you're going to talk about
wait.
racism in this lens
No, separate-
because
But if
that
you
is the imagery that was used.
Yes, but if you get swept away by
Swept away?
Yeah, swept away.
Yeah.
If you get swept away on this topic of it being now we're going to deem this racist, I'm telling you, you can lose sight of the moment
Right.
of what's taking place by just saying, "Hey, this is what it is. This is what it is not, and this is how we disciple our people towards truth."
Right. So where any of the left or right has to come in with you, what you just said.
Don't forget left or
Right.
right.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. That's what I started with saying. I don't care about all of that is unnecessary.
But it's still getting
well, you got to be
people-
careful of the left. You don't have to be careful
No,
of nothing.
people are still
Call it
getting
what it
swept
is.
away.
the-
I tell you
understand
who's
that.
doing
I
it.
think what
I
Marquise
understand
was
what
I'm just
talking
putting a
about-
name on who's doing the sweeping, but I'm
Yeah.
saying that you are
Right,
getting swept
but
away.
it doesn't matter to me.
You don't have to put a name on it. I'm
But
just
why-
saying
but-
I
I
don't
think-
care about that right now.
I think you do.
But right now, in that very moment,
You don't care about people getting swept away by a cultural wind of just
for
what
that
the latest
moment,
day
if
is.
I'm stepping into leading people, leading a congregation in a particular direction,
Yep.
I'm not worried about what if Kamala said this or
No,
what
no, I
if
didn't-
Trump does this.
No, I'm not there either.
Mo,
I don't.
Can we?
But that's what I'm saying. I don't care about any of the political landscape when addressing something from a kingdom perspective.
I've already conceded that.
Mo,
Okay, so what are we talking?
I'm talking about you can still, and I
I
got to
simply say
because now this
it's
is
all
simply
unnecessary.
rivalry.
I simply said it was unnecessary.
But it's not unnecessary to say that because of everything that you just saw this weekend, you could get swept away in a lie. So let me tell you what is and what's not.
If that's your approach that you want to take, sure. I'm saying.
Well,
you
let's
can take
talk
that.
about
That's
the
just
approach.
that's a
Well,
semantic.
let's talk about because Bria.
That's semantics to
well,
me.
No, I look. I'm listening. I was really listening, and that's the longest I haven't talked on this podcast ever. But I mean, it's okay. I was listening. I was trying to observe. And Bria asked a question for George and I. But I mean, obviously, all of us can answer this. In your opinion, how should the church have respond? Which should respond or should? And I have a specific answer for that. And I think in answering that from a church perspective, I think I see what Marquise is saying. Identify what the source of the conflict is and the strife. That's all. I know there's, and I say this lovingly, I know that there are certain people, and I think you fall into this camp, that are very leery to tie yourself to a camp. And I get that. My camp is up and down versus left and right. Now, the reality is, and cover your ears whether we like it or not, being up and down
It's a political statement.
It's a political
Matthew
statement.
28.
It is. It is a political statement. The polity of heaven, right?
Yes,
A set of
yes.
ideas advocated
Agreed.
by a group of
Yes.
people to affect the lives of others. That is a political. That's definition. And I think what we're saying is it's nothing wrong with identifying the source and what they're trying to do with this issue. It doesn't mean it's not an issue.
No.
But it seems like you want to hang out in the issue, and Marquise wants to identify it, but then correct them and corral people to the biblical perspective. So to answer Bree's question, I'll answer it. What I would do, and then I've talked about this, and I spoke with Ed about it, but I've said this to other pastors as well. How does God look at the situation? God looks at all of his creation and says, you're all image bearers, period, end of story. That's number one.
Amen.
And what he says is the only way that you break down hostility is through the gospel and what Christ
Amen.
did on the cross. And so you take people to Ephesians 2, 14 through 16.
Amen.
For he himself is our peace. Shalom, Jesus is, who has made two groups, there's really 5 groups, 10 groups, whatever groups, but as many groups, won, and has destroyed the barrier, the dividing line of hostility, whether it's ethnicity, whether it's economic, flourishing or not, or whatever it is in classes. He divided the wall of hostility. It was broken down by setting aside in his flesh the law and its commands and regulations. His purpose was to create in himself one new humanity out of the two, thus making peace, shalom, and in one body to reconcile both of them to God through how? Through the cross, by which he put to death their hostility. This hostility, and that's why the question I had with Marquise, what's the answer? Because if the church is supposed to lead, control the narrative. Say, look, we acknowledge that there was sins and this ethnic divide was real, but how do we ever get away from it? You get away from it by saying, how does God look at it? God doesn't say, well, you're black, you're white, you're Portuguese, you're Hispanic, you're this, and I died for all of you.
Yeah.
Every one of you are the same. To me, I died equally for all of you, and I love you equally. I love you differently because you have different personalities, but I'm going to tell you the same truth, and I expect the same behavior from you. We're studying Matthew 5, the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, and Jesus is challenging us in Matthew 5, and it's deep. It's a deep challenge. We're salt and light. What does that mean? We studied that this morning. Salt and light. Salt was a preservative. Light illuminated, and light was associated with truth. Jesus, John 14, Jesus, the way, the truth, and life. No one gets to the Father but through him. So we are supposed to illuminate truth in darkness, and this is our darkness, and we are to preserve that truth, or we can't illuminate with it. And so what does the church respond? The church responds that, I understand that some people may take this that way. We don't know the intent of the making. I still take that position. I don't know.
We don't know.
But regardless, you don't condemn President Trump for being a racist when there's no evidence he is. You can say, man, I was disappointed that you didn't take more accountability and didn't control the narrative and lead in this moment. You could have acknowledged somebody, whatever they felt about it. You're not saying they should or shouldn't. We talked about should versus.
Yeah.
We just say, I understand that that's it. That wasn't my intent. I would never condone that. What did you say about Iran? I mean, move on from it. You can. I think you can constructively criticize that. But then the church needs to say, guys, we've got to get away from this. We've got to get away from this. I promise you there's not a separate line walking into heaven of blacks, whites, Hispanics, and then you got those mixed couples. Now what are you going to do with your kids?
Right.
Then you got problems, right? Oh, no, you don't. You don't have problems. Do you understand my point?
Yes.
This is where the church needs to lead to me. You need to take them back to the cross. You need to take them back to Jesus and then say, and whichever side aligns with my Jesus, then you got my support. And it's not that I support you. You're with my God. My God's not with you. It's the other way around. Control the narrative and put on top who belongs to be on top, and that's Yahweh. That's our King.
Yeah,
that's it. And I think that what he's saying, and what I think, and I've seen, man, Momo has grown a lot. I mean, and I'm not saying that to be condescending. I'm serious. I think we need to talk less. Morgan Freeman. We need to talk less about our differences and less we're razzing on each other. I love our culture here. I love that we make jokes about Hispanics, blacks.
Oh, not me.
You don't make. Yeah, you do. He's not on the air.
He's not on the air.
He's not on the air. I read you out, Jack. That wasn't attorney-client privilege.
Trying to keep it on PC. Attorney-client privilege.
He started calling us out. I had to catch that.
Hey, misery loves company. Hey. I can't be the only guy that Don Rickles here. But I mean, all I'm saying is this is the joy. There's joy here in this room. And what I love, and I hope, and I know it's the same way, and I say this lovingly, but I'm going to brag about my kids don't recognize. They recognize skin color like they recognize height. It's just a descriptive.
That's good.
And I've seen it.
That's good.
They literally don't. They don't understand it, and I don't want them to understand it. I want to prepare them for an ugly world out there, but they look at skin color like they look at height. I'm serious. Or weight or length or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a descriptive to them. And that has been very deliberate that Davi and I have done in our home.
That's good.
And I hope you feel it and you see it.
Yeah.
But again, so that's my answer, Bria. I mean, was it Bria? I don't want to mispronounce her name. I'm sorry, baby, if I... Bria, yeah,
She
Bria.
asked you too, George.
Bria. She asked you too. She didn't ask the black dudes, but she asked us guys. I mean,
yeah. I guess I should start by saying that I'm very offended that Joe Biden's face was on an orangutan while he was eating a banana. I'm very upset about that.
I don't know the historical context. You got to teach me. You got to teach.
How do you not know?
How do you not know?
You got to teach.
It was a equal opportunity offensive video, but Well, I'm going to go back to my position of I am genuinely worried. I do care about genuine injustices, Mo, in the country. I'm freaked out over it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to temper. It comes across as irritation, but I'm actually angry about it. And I'm trying to be real poised about it because I'm angry. I'm angry that that the church is playing pretender, and that it joins this cultic move to discuss racism because it's the popular way to discuss it. See, these are the acceptable boundaries around faux racism, and so we're all tough guys. I saw all kinds of real cool, tight jean pastors get up there with their lattes and condemned the obvious dehumanization of black persons and all this bullshit. With all due respect, I don't think that video is racist in the slightest. I don't know if the individual.
I get it.
I get it. I get it.
But
the video per se, I would dismiss it. And the only reason I brought up the discrimination, the mass discrimination against white persons in the country, which is acceptable, and the church does this. Say what? Same bullshit, by the way, that the church used to do when there was legitimate racism in culture against blacks. And guys like the Wesley brothers and William Wilberforce were on the outside and the church was blowing them off because they were pioneers in that fight. So the church always seems to be a day late and a hell of a lot more dollar short on these issues. So excuse me if I don't take virtually anything that's coming out of Protestantism in the country right now in the matter of serious injustice seriously. I call bullshit on all of it, with all due respect, with the obvious caveats. I mean, I know where Ed's coming from. I know where others are coming from. So obvious caveats there, but I'm just telling you, I'm deeply worried about it. I'll give you an example because Bria asked, "What would you do?" I was torn on whether anything should have been said, and so. But at the same time, this is an opportunity because I'm the guy that's always saying, "Hey, where's the church?"
Leave.
Say something, dumb church.
He was pregnant with that. That's a perfect analogy for you right now. Right?
That's right.
And so let me give you an example. I gave you one example that is systemic, institutional, I think, and truly structural racism. Now, on the issues of remnants of previous institutional policies against black persons in cities, let me tell you what infuriates me, and I actually read this every single weekend, and I've been waiting for one church, to make any statement about it. The city of Chicago, and it's one of many, is a slaughterhouse every single weekend. It is a human threshing floor. Young black men are shredded. But you know why the media doesn't talk about it? And you know why these pretender pastors whose hearts are broken because of racism? And let me tell you where the racism comes in. Because it's black on black. See, you don't have a white man, boogeyman cop there killing them. No one gives a shit. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it's rivers of blood coming out of Chicago. No one cares. And so you can get into things like fatherlessness. I don't know. It seems the church might have something creative and appropriate, right? And biblically vested to say about that. Crickets. That is a human threshing floor every single weekend. The media, politicians don't even go near it because there's no there's no white perpetrator. That's racist. That makes me sick. It seems to be that's real. It's relevant. It's going on right now, and it should pull us. It should pull us. It should pull us out of
systemic.
It should pull us. It should pull us out of our skin. We don't care. We go to sleep like babies.
But you know,
and I can go on and on and on. But I don't want to
parlay on this. No,
Sorry.
you're not sabotaging. You and I have talked about that before, so I knew where you were going, and I wanted Mo and Marquise to hear that in the audience.
It's wonderful to be known.
No, but it's something you and I have talked about, and it's a valid point. It's real. The question here, I think that George is alluding to, the same criticism we have of Trump not owning the narrative and taking the lead, we can say about the church. The church doesn't own the narrative.
The inconsistency.
They don't.
For sure.
They, to George's point, as a whole, not on every church.
For sure.
They jump in when it's safe to jump in. They're not trailblazers saying, "Hey, God has an opinion about this, and I don't care what." Oh God, what does that guy say that? Right is right, even if no one agrees with it, and wrong is wrong, even if everybody agrees with it. You know, everybody does it.
Right.
I mean, God's way is the way. Period. In the story. And so, why isn't the church lovingly, 2 Timothy 4, correcting, encouraging, and rebuking with great patience and careful instruction?
That's huge.
And so the same criticism I have of President Trump not owning the narrative. Is the same criticism, and I've been consistent about that about the church not leading.
And go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's a lot of that is. Again, what is propped up, what is promoted, what is algorithms are discipling us, what is put in front of us, what are the things that we're seeing and not seeing. And again, there's different pockets of wherever you are, where some of these things are for sure. A lot of people in the Black community, and again, this is where I know you'll get excited about a couple of these, but when it comes to, these different words and different things that are being said, there was an uproar in the Black church of Hillary Clinton talking about Black people as super predators. There was an uproar within the Black church of this is the same guy for the 94 crime bill that's going to be we're toting, that we're saying we're getting behind. Now, of course, we got a lot of work to do, and we're too many votes when it comes to just to one particular side from the political landscape. But there are things that are said, there are things that are done, and depending on the pockets of faith that you're in and that things that are talked about, there is a normalization of calling out BS on whether it's the different things that George just mentioned when it comes to these different things. I'm not going to go down that path, but yeah, I think that there's these pockets in the faith world that we see where it's always my biggest thing that I think about when it comes to these things of how we disciple people is when it comes to what it looks like. And this is why I do think that we need to have racial conversations. The idea of stop talking about it, I think, is baloney.
Well,
to
no,
me.
but talking.
I'm not.
Yeah, no, but saying
how
that,
you talk about it.
Yeah, well, but saying stop talking about it is don't. I mean, again, you know how I say this.
I'm not talking about you in particular.
No, I know that,
Okay,
Daddy.
yeah.
I'm saying, but if we keep talking about it the wrong way, then we'll never learn. We're never going to grow from it.
Right.
If you want to talk about it to say talk about it the right way, or talk about it less, and start sanctifying yourself from this ideology of skin color. And look at Mexicans, Mexicanos, and it's our idol. And that's why I'm so deliberate when I say this guy happens to be black, happens to be white. I put the descriptive after the subject because I don't want it to become the identity.
Yeah,
and that's deliberate for me.
For sure. And I'm referring to people who are like, put your head in the sand. We moved on. Stop.
Don't ignore it.
I'm not. I know. You know that.
Yeah.
For those who are listening, I'm just saying that idea of that when it comes to the church leading on it, the conversations that hit like these different things. I think it's just super important to lead out on, and that comes from a historical context. That comes from a modern day context. Lots of things that need to be said when it comes to how whites are discriminated against, Asians discriminated against, like across the board. But I think you have to say. I mean,
you didn't say Mexicans.
Hey,
you didn't say Mexicans. But you heard it live.
I would say that,
and I would concede it's not like it is happening. I'm not saying that it is happening by and large.
No, well, it can't. I think what the frustration is, what I sense from you, Georgia, this is a really good conversation because I think it's the time out for the church to have pockets of it in the conversation and start leading in the conversation of it when it comes to the injustice.
That's right.
For sure.
So
that's right.
If it's going to be the loud banging of drums from these mega pulpits when it comes to this, it has to be consistent when it comes to everything else. And so I'm with you because we grew up in places, and I'm like, what do you mean people never heard these things? We grew up hearing these things from the pulpit, but but the pockets can't be enough. I think it's just time out for the pockets.
And so
the only thing I'll say is I think that it's yes, and I think media is going to drive so much, and it's not going to be sensationalized. It's not going to be sexy. It's not going to be cute. You going through a holistic course on something, like it's not going to be.
But even outside of media, if the top biggest 20 churches in America said it, you are the media.
What's going to happen?
You are the media.
No, I would disagree, but go ahead.
In the church. Now, I'm not talking about discipling America. I'm talking about discipling your church members.
That's right.
Okay,
the top 20 mega churches banging this drum as loud as you bang the whatever other drum we've been banging, you will move the needle.
Oh yeah,
You will.
I agree with that.
So
sure.
May I suggest, in terms of how to lead, I think we need to go for a jugular. Talk about implicit racism. The idea that it's sort of always there, underlying it, sort of the 500-pound elephant nobody goes near, which is sort of the unknown, unspoken rule. So I would frame it like this, and yes, it comes from cultural Marxism and sort of the deep inroads it's made in American culture. I would say that there is a belief that the evils, the discriminatory evils of a past generation of white European Americans cancels any possibility that they can succeed legitimately.
Say it again.
That the past evils of a whole generation of white European Americans cancels any possibility that their white descendants can succeed legitimately. And so that to the extent that white persons succeed, it's solely because of white privilege.
The leg up mentality.
Right.
The leg up.
And so that is implicit. It's in the American Academy. This is doctrine. There isn't one soul who graduates from an American public institution who doesn't buy into what I just said. And to the extent we discuss injustices or racialization of things, church doesn't go near that with a 10-foot barbecue fork. Like, that's okay. It's okay for that to continue to. And all I'm saying is the longer it continues, the more it goes from seed to sprout, and from sprout to a tall, thriving plant. And good luck tearing that down.
I mean, I shouldn't be asking it after we're already over time. But during all that BLM Incorporated BS, did you support people that happen to be white bowing down to blacks and washing their feet?
Hell no.
Okay, good. That was a great answer.
I like that.
And that was a great answer.
I have one comment.
And I expected that, but I'm so glad to hear
One comment that I just want to brag, and I'm not.
I was deep left at that point. Too.
You were deep. And not even
Hell no.
And I was deep left at that point. I still said hell no.
There's one, I really do want to brag on Pastor Ed for this, because to speak about consistency across the board, my first month here in 2021. And it goes to what we're talking about, the monkey and all that stuff. Larry Elder, Republican, black guy in California, throwing bananas at him, around there with monkey masks. Nothing. Nobody said a peep.
Who did it come from?
And it was
a certain ideology.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it was a black man with monkey attire, people doing the caricature of this and throwing bananas while he's campaigning. Zilch from the media.
Amen, brother.
Zilch from the church.
Great point, Dad.
I'm sitting in church listening to Pastor Ed talk about this and call out racism or call out this evil that's happening to this man. And he got criticism for it. Why? Because the guy was a Republican.
That's bro.
Had he been anybody else on the left, it would have been everywhere. Churches would have stood for it. I fell in love that day, that moment with Pastor Ed when I saw the guts and the testicular fortitude is what I'll call it. Testicular fortitude. When I saw him stand up and do that, it was by far, but I say that to say, to your point, George, the consistency must be there. And I loved him for that. And it opened my eyes because I was like, I didn't hear about this. It wasn't everywhere.
And our Lord, in the justice system, Lady Justice wears a blindfold.
Yes.
Interesting.
That she can't see who you are, what you are. She gets the facts, the laws, merges them together to reach this elusive concept. But in our faith, Jesus has eyes wide open.
That's right.
And he sees who you really are.
Yeah.
So it's the opposite, though. But the result is even better than the justice system with the theoretical blindfold. It's eyes wide open. And that's why we should be consistent.
And that's Imago Dei.
That's Imago Dei.
Imago Dei.
That's right. Eyes wide open.
Not seeing that or not allowing that to live just because it's not the popular opinion of the day. My last comment.
I wonder if I might end by quoting two of my favorite black spokespersons on this issue. I like Thomas Sowell a lot. I think he's fantastic. And I would strongly recommend, I was trying to pull this up. I was listening and I hope I didn't tune out. But there's a book he writes called Discrimination and Disparities. And he analyzes this issue beautifully, really, really well. And what he does, Marquise, is that it's not necessarily the other person's fault that someone else is succeeding. So, Mo, the belief is that if the white guy has succeeded, it's been at your cost. I've deprived you. I walk into a room, and by definition, culturally, I'm guilty. That's where we are today. Sowell says, quote, "The bedrock assumption underlying many political or ideological crusades is that the socioeconomic disparities are automatically somebody's fault, so that our choices are either to blame society or blame the victim. With such word games, one might say that Babe Ruth took an unfair share of the home runs hit by the New York Yankees." Interesting. Here's another one I really like. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Carol Swain. She's phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not.
I really like her.
I like Carol.
And,
no, seriously.
she's really good.
Yeah.
She's not a Democrat.
No.
I went off the mic on that one. Anyway, she talks a lot about this white supremacy, constant white supremacy narrative. And this was at a conference. She said, quote, one side, i.e. white Americans, has to constantly and continually confess its complicity and unfairness in racism. Mm-hmm. But the other side, the BIPOCs, the people of color, and they never have anything to confess. Must be nice. So she wrote a book in 2021 called Black Eye for America. Oof. And I was trying to pull it up. It's in my Kindle. But I think every student should read that. We just have to, as believers, we have to confront something more than paper tigers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amen.
And right now, it just seems like we're trying to be secularists better than the secularists. Mm-hmm. Really just dressing up their arguments in a Jesus garb. Mm-hmm. And Nico knows it's just been a long sort of soapbox pet peeve of mine, and I just think we can do better, and we should do better.
We have to.
And we must do better. We've been called to do
Salt
better.
and light.
Yeah.
Salt and light.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap it up, man. We went, Momo, you made us go over.
Yeah,
I came in late, man.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
I'm so, man, you.
Next time, just agree. It'll go shorter.
Yeah.
Agree?
Just agree. It'll go shorter.
No, you can't agree. It wouldn't be the same, Momo.
No way.
How's the baby?
Doing real good.
How's your queen?
Doing awesome. She's
awesome.
doing
Healing
awesome.
well.
Yes.
Good. She's
I'm only here because she said yes. So,
Well,
That's what Nico said. She gives the green light.
That's what I said. And she gave the green light. Thank you,
Aisha.
Hey, Annie, thank you. Hey, any comments? Give us comments, suggestions. Yeah. We're happy to take topics. We're just going with the flow. Yeah. We make up the topic the week before and we talk about it. We run it by Mo to make sure he's not going to be offended by it. Joking. But so we really want to have conversations that interest you. So we try to follow the culture. We go into theological discussions at times. We need to do better about planning out our curriculum, but we're going to go with the flow. So God bless you guys. Share this with someone you may think may benefit from it. And thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.